Yes.
So when you are teaching the excellence of service in customers, what are the key principles when we talk about training?
Well, if we're talking about training, I think there's 5 key design characteristics if you're trying to change the behavior and attitude of the workforce. See, my concept is that if you have 1,000 employees, every single person counts. The most important person is not the CEO, it's not the owner. The most important person is that little person floating through their system. Could be the security guard, which we outsource, okay, who's the first and the last person you see typically at a Russian firm. Or it could be that little individual that answers the phone. If that person does an incredible job, you're in good shape. There's 5 things you got to do if you're going to get inside the head of that individual and create a buy-in. Number 1, the material you use got to be fun, exciting, entertaining. Now, these 5 things, executives and sometimes human resource people do not like. See, they like things that are kind of dull, dry, and boring. But let's say you got 1,000 employees. It doesn't matter if you have 100 or 10,000. You know, if you want to keep their mind engaged, you know, you don't want them sitting there like a bump on a log. You got to have stuff that's got a little bit of pizzazz. Number 2, you got to hammer it fundamentals, and basics. And nobody wants to focus on basics. Executives, they like this real complicated, sophisticated stuff. Let me tell you what, you got 3 seconds, maybe if you're lucky 5 seconds with a customer, before they can tell whether you love them or whether you just soon get rid of them. Okay? So you got to teach fundamentals, see a flawless execution. If you look at the Olympics, you know, where the Russians did pretty good. They won a lot of gold medals because they had flawless execution. And these kids practiced for years for a 60-second segment that they won either by a fraction of a point or a fraction of a second. Okay, so we have to focus on fundamentals. The most difficult thing to get a person to do. Here's a belief I have. I think every single person in Russia already knows customer service is important. The difficult thing is, how do I change that attitude? So when the customer walks through the door, we say, fantastic, it's a customer, instead of, it's a customer. Third thing that we got to do is that you got to have quality packaging. So the material that you give the employee has to look of high quality. It's a little bit like an Apple product. The iPhones, the iPads are extremely slim, they're attractive, they have high value. When you give people material, if it looks like trash, they perceive it as trash. Fourth thing is that 80% of the time has to be group discussion, group interaction. If you want to get inside the head of people, you want to drive the concept emotionally, you want to change attitudes, you don't need a lecture. You don't need somebody watching a dumb video. What you need is group discussion, group interaction, where they look at the principles that maybe are video-based, and then they tear the stuff apart and they bring it back to their organization with lots of controversy, fights, and arguments. That's how you start to change attitudes. So 80% has to be group discussion. And then the last item, which is very, very important, sometimes executives and human resource people don't know it, how valuable this is that many people are hurting inside. Many people have trouble keeping themselves on a high. Executives can overcome adversity and they can just move on. But for the typical employee, it's disastrous. So we focus on building people from within, from building self-esteem, self-worth, helping people feel good about themselves. I believe that if an employee feels good about themselves, they communicate it on the job. If on the other hand they miss the train on the way to work, they miss the bus, they got in a fight with their girlfriend or their boyfriend, or maybe they got a dispute with their spouse, to a lot of people it just destroys their day. So what we want to do is uplift the spirit and the heart of the employee, so they're looking forward to the next day. They're looking forward to taking care of that customer.
Thank you very much.